action surf. The action surf. The action surf.
Welcome to The Action Shelf. The podcast celebrates the glory of B-action movies. I'm John Campbell.
And I'm Michael Lissman.
That's the voice of this movie for sure.
Oh yes, Excessive Force, 1993's action hit starring Thomas Ian Griffith.
Thomas Ian Griffith, welcome to The Action Shelf for the first time.
Yeah, first time. Shocking, really.
Shocking, yeah, he definitely is one of those guys. He's kind of the guy who, and watching this, I'm still, because I've always really liked Thomas Ian Griffith. I think he's very good. I think he's actually a good actor, in addition to the martial arts stuff. But the thing that's and this movie aside, but just like he was definitely set up to be the next guy, and I don't quite understand why it didn't happen. Now, once again, I don't think this movie's great, but like, the New Line was like, he's going to be the next Seagal. I'm like, he's way better than Seagal.
And that's the weird thing, is what was being set up for this movie, and going into it knowing that was the case.
Right.
I was kind of looking for it. Do you think that the difference is that Steven Seagal was just put in a better movie?
I think that could be the case.
What is it? Under Siege?
Well, Above the Law is what kicked him off.
Okay, Above the Law. Okay. Is that... have we seen that movie?
We haven't seen it, but that is the same guy who did Under Siege and Code of Silence. So I think Andrew Davis had a lot to... I think the director here is a real problem.
Yes.
I think John Hess.
The director of this movie, John Hess. Let's take a look here.
It's a lot of this kind of stuff.
Yeah, a lot of this. Producer on American History X. I don't know what that means.
Co-producer on American History X, but it's a real weird, like, it really stands out from the rest of the group. Is like, he seemed to have hooked himself up with a really good movie, but maybe accidental, or like, what I mean? Like, it's like...
Yeah, knowing about the creation of that movie, it's like, well, it kind of was just Edward Norton sort of sculpting that film.
Yeah, I think that may have been put money into it or something, which, I mean, good on him for at least championing that movie, because it's a great movie.
Sure.
But
it is, yeah.
You look at the other films he's directed, it's The Lawless Land, Watchers, The Assassin, Not of This World, Alligator 2, The Mutation, which is the only other movie of his I have seen. I have seen Alligator 2, The Mutation. And really...
How was it, John? What did you think?
I'll say this. It made Alligator seem like a masterpiece. Alligator's kind of fun.
Alligator is a knockoff of Lake Placid. Is that a
No,
fair
Alligator was a
assumption?
knockoff of Jaws in the 70s.
Okay.
Because this is in the early 90s. No, Alligator was like alligator in a city. The cop has to hunt it down and stop the killing.
City?
Yeah,
because that's not a very... Or is it in the sewers? Is that the idea?
Yeah,
Okay.
Like the first person it kills is like a sewer worker.
This makes sense.
And then Alligator 2,
How would an alligator be? I'm just imagining an alligator in a taxi. The door opens and he snaps somebody.
Oh no! Where to? Oh no! Now that
elevator doors open and an alligator falls out and eats somebody in one fluid motion. This is what I'm imagining.
Actually, that movie sounds amazing. I will say, but I will just say, and then kind of, although we have often talked about doing the film Crash and Burns, because that buddy cop title is incredible.
Okay. I'm understanding.
So this guy, I think that really hurts. I don't know what condition the script was in, because this is also written by its star, Thomas Ian Griffith.
I saw that, and I was like, oh boy.
However, it's one of those things where it's like, I don't know what the script was like, because he actually has, in the last several years, been exclusively writing. He's only recently returned to acting on Cobra Kai because this movie is definitely them using the heat off of him for being the bad guy in Karate Kid Part 3, where he really steals that movie. He is fantastic in that movie. And so much so that for the first like 3 to 4 seasons of Cobra Kai, everybody's like, you got to bring Terry Silver back, right? Like, he's the best villain in the Karate Kid franchise. And then they did. And
so he's always named Terry? Like, all of his characters are named Terry? Because his name is Terry in this movie, too.
It is. That is interesting. I didn't pick up on that. Yeah, Terry Silver is kind of the supervillain of the Karate Kid franchise and played by him. And that was like his debut. That was like the introducing Thomas Ian Griffith. And he fucking rules.
This movie, he's Terry McCain, so he is technically a different Terry.
Yes, he's my career I've played so many Terrys, you know.
Exactly.
But primarily, he has worked on actually one of the show that shot here locally, Grimm. He was one of the main writers on there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Does he write on Cobra Kai as well, or is he just acting?
I think he's just acting, at least so far. On it. Yeah.
Gotcha.
But and weirdly, he's done a lot of work with Dolly Parton, like her TV specials and stuff. I think he's won Emmys for that and stuff like that. So
Oh wow.
So I think he has some writing skill. Once again, who knows what the script was?
Well, how early is this in his writing career? Or
I think
is this
his
kind of like
first
around the beginning?
Let's see here. He's written one other movie called Night of the Warrior, which is a Lorenzo Lamas vehicle. So I don't know. Seems like another Action Shelf movie though. But Lorenzo Lamas, and then he has a story by credit for something called Kill Fee. You know, I mean, Kill
Fee?
Kill Fee, F-E-E, Fee,
okay.
Kill Fee.
Okay.
Yeah, as in the fee for killing someone. And then after this, he wrote a movie called Black Point that definitely feels like a future episode because that's him and David Caruso as the stars of it. So that feels like that will be a future episode without question.
Yeah.
Because we love Caruso. Talk about a guy who should have done more Action Shelf movies. His CSI Miami performance is an Action Shelf lead performance. It
was a weekly Action Shelf movie.
That's why we devoured that show. We were such fans of that show because it was a network procedural that had the vibe of a Action Shelf film.
Yeah. I liked the original CSI just for like the sciencey, whatever stuff. But then I liked CSI Miami for completely different reasons. The reasons you were talking about.
Because it basically didn't give a shit about science. It was mostly about driving cars really fast, shooting guns, and blowing shit up.
Yes, which is why I liked that one more than CSI New York, despite liking the cast in CSI New York.
Oh, well, Gary Sinise is amazing, but yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, CSI Miami had at least its own identity, which was really nice.
I will say,
but interesting. Yeah.
I've also, and I think this might be on the list for an upcoming episode someday on the show. The movie he does after this, Thomas Ian Griffith, is called Cracker Jack, and I've really wanted to do that for a while because that's sort of a cliffhanger movie. And in that, he does not play Terry. Instead, his character's name is Jack Wilde.
Jack Wilde. Okay. I was thinking Jack White from the White Stripes.
No, Jack Wilde. But see, it's a wilderness set action movie, and he's Jack Wilde.
Okay.
And much like this, it has one of the greatest actors who ever lived, Christopher Plummer, in it. So, because I will say, the thing that makes 1993's Excessive Force more tolerable than some, because this is one of the most generic movies we've ever done.
It reeks of everything we've seen before. There's nothing new in this
Absolutely not, because we always talk about within the Action Shelf, obviously all of these are action movies, but within the Action Shelf itself, right, there are sort of subgenres, and one of those is the super cop movie, right? And that is what this is.
That feels like the core of the Action Shelf. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like that is like where the Action Shelf originated, and then it sprouts out.
I think you're right because people often bring up Bullet as being one of the first pure action movies, and that's certainly in that. And then the Dirty Harrys and stuff like that. Certainly, literally, Jackie Chan made a movie called Super Cop, which is an amazing
Police Story 3.
Yeah, it was
right?
yes. In Hong Kong, it came out as Police Story 3 Super Cop. Here, it just came out as Super Cop. But
Super
it's
Cop.
my favorite.
All
Police Story
of those
movie.
movies
They're
are
all
amazing.
They're all great.
They're so good.
Super Cop is my favorite, and that's somewhat biased because it also has Michelle Yeoh in it, which is kind of like,
right, exactly.
What could make this franchise better? Put Michelle Yeoh with him. But I fucking love Super Cop. I just got recently a shout out to the people over at why am I blanking on their name now? Oh, they're really good Blu-ray company. There's a company that just did a beautiful 4K release of the original
Is
Police
it like
Story.
the BluRayTV.com website? Or...
Yeah, I think that. But I mean, I want to make sure because I buy.
They're not a sponsor of.
They are not a sponsor, but I buy a lot of their stuff. And if you're an action fan, Eureka is the name of the company. Eureka.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
then they release. I have a lot of their martial arts releases and stuff. One of the things I like about them is you have sort of the criterion for the really highbrow stuff, and then your Eurekas and your shouts and stuff for some of the more genre stuff. But they beautifully restored. And I think it's Police Story 2 that for the first time they have the original Chinese cut that's never been available before in the States. Yeah. So I highly recommend those if you're a Jackie Chan fan. And
definitely
tons
and Police Story is great because there are bombastic stunts and like crazy Jackie Chan stuff that you expect, but there's also a decent, and at least I remember this in 2, there's a decent amount of actual police work happening.
Yes, he's actually a competent police officer. Unlike this guy.
I cannot say the same about Terry McCain is what I would call a good cop.
No. Where does he fall? I was thinking about this. Where does he fall as a cop in the line of our super cops, though? Because I will say he's a cut above martial law.
Sure.
But he's below Cobra.
He is. Depends on how we're rating him, because like on a level of like sane to psychotic, he's maybe on par with Cobretti,
I would say he and Cobretti are cut from the same cloth, where it seems to mostly be about dishing out violence.
Yes, and torturing people. And what I do like about this movie is that, and we'll get into this because this is the main conceit of the movie, and it's why it's called excessive force.
Well, and that's why we should say that we put this on the list because we saw this poster and this tagline and went, that is not going to age well.
No, it's like if they made a movie called No Knock Raid or something. You know what I mean? Like it.
And my favorite part of the movie, I'll just say before we dive super deep into it, is the part where we're supposed to be mad at the judge for throwing out charges built on excessive force. We're supposed to be like, this fucking system, man. Cops can't torture info out of people. Damn it!
These fucking people with their silk ties, letting all these criminals go.
It does that thing we always talk about with the super cop movies, where it always makes it. It's like, well, yeah, if criminals were like that, then yes, I guess you would have to use extreme violence.
Right.
It always lets them off.
If criminal organizations worked as basically operated like terrorist organizations, then yes, they would need to be dealt with excessive force.
It's always the thing I love. I saw somebody reply to, because like the big popular thing people love to bring up, like, oh, Batman's problematic but they're just going like, yeah, but like when a guy in a fucking clown costume slices someone, you just, it's like in reality, a Batman would be a very bizarre figure. But in that, that's why I do like
no matter how grounded a Batman story is, it is heightened by the fact that there's a man in a bat costume.
And even Nolan, the most grounded, realistic, it's like there's still a guy in a scarecrow mask shooting fear gas at people. Yeah. All right.
Yes.
Your average police, no real law enforcement agency can handle that situation. So I do always sort of think like that is always the out of these movies, is they take place in no semblance of reality. So of course they're problematic. The thing that's hilarious about this movie is that it kind of tries to It's because I kept going like, why would they keep this guy in the forest? And that's part of the villain plan. We'll get to it, but it's just
yes. Yeah,
that really.
There's like a nugget of something interesting there that I feel like put in there by accident almost.
That's it. I agree. It's in there by accident because I agree. I would like this movie much more if it was, because I love police movies. I love a police thriller, but all my favorites are like very serious. They're like really examinations of what is police work. Movies like The French Connection and stuff like that, where it's like, and the movies that have no easy answers. This movie could be that. All you would have to do is just spin the tone a little bit, and you could take a lot of the same. It's actually what I thought, because the other thing I thought is we were talking about, he's about on par with Cobra. The best of this is Code of Silence.
Yes,
because that movie manages to still have all the crazy action you want of a Chuck Norris movie.
Yes,
but it's contemplating police work a little bit more.
Yeah, it's questioning what is in place, like how effective that type of policing is.
The same reason I love the first two Dirty Harry movies for that too, where it's like, oh, you're actually talking about something before it becomes the comic book Avenger that he becomes in the later movies.
Right, in the third, fourth, and fifth,
he just gets more insane. It's the same thing with Rambo. A lot of the trajectory of these action franchises are this. They start contemplative, and then it's just like, I don't know, man, he's got to kill 200 people now.
Right, exactly, because, the studio's got to keep making money. So.
Well, and I don't know if you saw, there was a recent thing where James Cameron was giving an interview where he talked about
your favorite person, John?
Yeah, I love James Cameron, but he was talking about that Arnold came into before there was even a script for Terminator 2, and he goes, I've got to kill 200 people in this because Sly just killed 150 in his last movie. And so they were literally jockeying. Those guys were literally battling. How many did he kill? I have to kill more in my movie.
So
it's a rare time.
And The Rock are the modern day Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger.
They really are.
Yeah. Okay,
I think that is true. It's a rare time you'll hear me agree with James Cameron, where he's like, Arnold, maybe we focus on a story, like maybe themes, concepts.
There's a lot going on in this story. We cannot fit in 200 deaths. Okay?
No, but then Sly would
200
win.
people getting shot.
No. I found that hilarious.
It is very funny.
Yeah.
Arnold, you'll just have to settle for being in the better movie. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, that is the thing where it's like, and then Terminator 2 ends up being probably his best movie. I would say
best movie.
It's got to be Arnold's best movie. Yeah, it's one of the best movies ever. So I just think that this is the world we're coming into in this. This is all to say, that's the kind of film we're dealing with here in Excessive Force.
Yes.
A movie also, and I don't quite, all the shit that came out once again from Seagal. This movie was made for theaters, but then went straight to video.
Okay, so
But the thing that's
so they didn't end up releasing it at all. Somebody's like, this is a turd. Let's just put it straight.
Yeah, pretty much. I think it had very limited. It might have played a few theaters, like movies sometimes do.
Okay.
I do have the budget here for the movie. If you want to take your best guess as to how much this thing cost.
All right, 1993. It was made for theaters.
Made as a theatrical release. Yeah.
I'm gonna say $3 million.
Dead on. That's it exactly. $3 million. You got it right on it. Listen, that is it. $3 million budget. Yeah. So, and that, because this is pretty, but like, I just think it's like, what did Seagal put out this year? I'm just going like,
oh, that's a great question.
Let me see what he was putting out, because I'm just saying, like, I've seen all those 90s Seagal movies. This is no worse than any of those. My God.
No, exactly. Because like you said, Thomas Ian Griffith is a better actor and martial artist.
Way better actor, and absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I guess Steven Seagal just waddled backwards into like some decent scripts.
He did not release a film in 1993 because he's working on this year. He's shooting his directorial debut on Deadly Ground, which we did as a movie, and that movie is horrible. This movie's much better than that.
I would agree with that. The only exception to that is the mannequin flying.
But I'm saying, like, the between 88 and 92, he puts out Above the Law, Hard to Kill, Marked for Death, and Out for Justice. And then Under Siege. And I would say only Under Siege is better than this movie, really. All the other ones are pretty much this. Like, if you watch this and Hard to Kill back to back, they're the same fucking movie. And this is better because the thing I was trying to say a long time ago before we got off on the tangents we did, the cast is it's not just Thomas Ian Griffith. Everybody's shockingly good in this movie.
Pretty good cast. Yeah.
Like, it really made this is generic, but the thing I was going to say is I found this much more watchable than a lot of the stuff we do, simply because everybody here is a real pro, even if the material is garbage.
Yeah. Yes.
But I mean, who had incriminating photos of James Earl Jones and got him in this movie?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, he did do a lot of this kind of stuff.
He did, but because I looked, I was like, "Where is his career?" This is literally comes out between two of the Jack Ryan movies he's in as Harrison Ford's mentor. Like, so he's even in other better action movies in this type of part. This same year, he also puts out The Sandlot, which he's great in. Were you a Sandlot kid? That was, I think, for our generation. That was such an iconic film. And it's a great movie.
Yeah.
And he's great in it.
Good.
He's great in that movie.
He's a really good actor.
I mean, he is,
I don't know if you know this.
Once again, it is one of those things where it's like he is one of the greatest actors ever. And he's really good in this because he cannot be, even though it's a shit part in a shit movie. Every scene he's in.
It's a nothing part. There's nothing to this part.
It's such a waste of an amazing actor. And you can feel it. Like, the movie, you're like, oh, I want to see more of him because he's great. Mm-hmm. And I think the scenes between him and Thomas Ian Griffith, the few we have, are the closest to, like, real human emotion in the movie.
Yeah. Yes.
Like, it's Thomas.
Although it's hard to tell because the version I watched was on YouTube and it was poor video quality.
I also watched that same copy because I think this is another movie that never made it past VHS as a format.
No.
I don't. This is available. No. This is available. No, you can only watch this on VHS transfers on YouTube. And it was certainly, we've seen worse because this wasn't as bad as whatever that one we watched with
Shadow
Force.
Shadow Force. Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah.
You that's how well the automated thing we use does work. Is you kind of can just jam words together. It's like Shadow.
That sounds auto Shadow something.
Yeah,
Shadow Warriors, Shadow
Strike. Whatever.
Strike. Yeah,
Shadow Kill. Just pick any words. Kill. By the way, there is a sequel to this in name only. They did make a Excessive Force 2: Force on Force.
That's a bad title.
That's a bad title. It has nothing to do with this movie other than it's about it's a female lead.
Okay.
Who's also like an amazing, it's a similar, I think it's one of those things where it's just like, I don't know. I think this did well enough on video that they're just like slap it on there. Yeah. We see that over on
like slash the budget and just push it out the door,
Yeah. Jesus Christ. I'm sorry. I'm just because they get the recommended Kill Fee, which I just mentioned, the other Thomas Ian Griffith movie he wrote. This is the actual tagline for this movie's called Excessive Force, right? So this movie's called Kill Fee, and the tagline is, "In his world, brute force isn't enough." He does have a katana on the poster, so
well, that's cool.
Yeah. Anyway, and then that he's Jack, so he's either Terry or Jack in all of his movies. It seems like.
Okay.
Because in that he's Jack Blaylock.
Jack Braylock.
Yeah.
Yeesh.
We talked about this just on the poster. He looks so 1993 in this movie, right? The long hair,
yes,
the earring,
the very long mullet. Oh my god, the black trench coat,
the big trench coat. Yeah, that was something.
Yeah.
Well, and I it's one of those things too, where it's like, whatever Thomas Ian Griffith's script, I can definitely see what he was being influenced by. Like, there's a lot of John Woo in here, because the trench coat really feels very Chow Yun Fat. and the jazz playing cop that's very hard boiled.
Yeah.
If people remember that movie, which is one of the greatest action movies ever made.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's one of those things where I'm just going like, okay, well, yeah, you like the same stuff I do, Thomas Ian Griffith, and he is good. He's good. It's just the character is nothing, right? Like sometimes these movies are tough to talk about in that way because it's like he is a good actor, and I've seen him in many things where he's been good. If you're a listener of Meet the Monsters, we did John Carpenter's Vampires, and he's the bad guy in that, and I fucking love him in that movie. He is one of my favorite movie vampires. Really, I just think he's so much fun in that movie. He totally steals that movie from everyone else. But here it's almost like this could have been anyone. You almost don't need an actor this good, right?
No, you could use a Steven Seagal in this part.
That's the thing. Is it does feel like the script is recycled, and then you get James Earl Jones, and then you get one of our faves, Lance Henriksen. We love Lance on the show.
As soon as you see him in this movie, you're like, well, the bad guy.
He's crooked, Because
he's crooked.
Because why would you hire Lance Henriksen to just be the angry police captain? What a waste.
Exactly.
And he's here. The guy's a pro. He's doing everything he can.
He's good. He's good.
This same year, he's also in Hard Target, though, and he's amazing in Hard Target.
Yeah, that movie's great. That movie's way better than this.
Way better than this. And I think that really is the thing with Thomas Ian Griffith. If he had gotten a script like Hard Target and worked with a director like John Woo, I think he could have really done something.
Definitely.
But instead, he kind of got jammed up in these kind of movies. And now he's had this renaissance, though, with the return to the Karate Kid stuff, which is great. And he's talked about that. He goes, I really just thought I was done with acting, and I was content with that. Yeah. And all of a sudden, he's more popular than ever. So good for him. So let's dive into the plot of this movie, which, yes, as we talked about, is excessive force. And what martial arts cop movie doesn't need to start with a training montage?
Yes, to know how serious he is at being a cop.
Well, and it's also always that thing, I feel like, in these movies where it's like, it's an ask that any inner city police detective is also a martial arts expert. Right?
I mean, it makes sense. The 90s were a dangerous time.
But so it's always just like, see? He practices martial arts. There you go. There's your answer.
There you go.
Because, when do you ever hear... I always think about this in the stuff we watch. I'm always just like, I have never heard once, like, multiple murder suspect brought in after intense hand-to-hand battle with police officer.
Well, obviously, this movie isn't trying to be realistic.
No, but it is just...
It is funny how many karate cops there are
cops
in this time period.
We love a karate
Kung
cop.
Fu cops.
Kung Fu cop. Yeah, I still am waiting for that movie. By the way, I think I mentioned this last week, but this is his background in martial arts. He trained in Taekwondo. Besides Taekwondo and Kempo karate, he's also trained in kickboxing, wrestling, and fencing. He has a black belt.
Yeah, he's got good kicks.
He has a black belt in Kempo karate. And has been doing Taekwondo since childhood. His kicks are great. He's also a big, tall guy with super long legs, so he looks cool kicking.
Yes, yeah. I mean, Taekwondo is basically kicking, so it makes sense that his kicks are, pretty good, pretty good looking.
He kicks real good. And it's great, of course, when he's fighting somebody like a tiny Ralph Macchio in the Karate Kid movies, and that pairing is awesome. Because he's
or in this movie when he fights an old man twice and struggles.
This movie has a key problem, which is nobody else is as good at martial arts as Thomas Ian Griffith in it.
Right.
That's a huge problem in these movies.
Yeah, nobody even looks like they could do martial arts, let alone doing them at all.
And that's the problem is so either you get scenes where he's just, and there's many scenes like this, where he just destroys a room of guys.
Yes.
Or you get that they're making somebody like, I love Tony Todd, who's also a really good actor and is in this movie.
Yeah.
But they have the big throwdown, and I love Tony Todd. You're going he doesn't know what he's doing, and they're trying to make it seem like he's matching him. So that's the thing. It's that's why we always get excited when it is like Van Damme and Bolo Young, or something like that, because
we know there's going to be some good fights.
You're gonna get the warrior to warrior fighting when it's Scott Adkins fighting Michael Jai White. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
But here it's just Thomas Ian Griffith, and at a certain point, as much as I love seeing this guy kick, it's just it's not that thrilling to see him just kick a bunch of mob goons and they go down, boom, 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 one at a time.
Immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're just like, okay, this guy's unstoppable. And then, then we're asked to believe...
There's no tension at all.
Exactly. There's no tension at all. Or, later we're asked to believe certain people are giving him a run for his money, and you're like, no.
No. This middle-aged Italian man who has shown up at his house is definitely not going to be in the fight. But,
yes, he's Terry McCain, the most violent, out-of-control policeman on the force.
Mm-hmm.
But we love him, apparently.
Yeah. I guess so.
That's what they say. And his big thing... we're supposed to love him because he's leading much like so many movie cops we've seen, he's been obsessed with a crusade against mob boss Sal DeMarco.
Sure. Yeah. He's been trying to catch him for years now.
Yep, classic. And played by another really good actor, Burt Young, who plays Paulie in the Rocky films.
Yeah.
Who has nothing to do, but he has nothing to do in this movie.
No, absolutely not. The closest he gets to acting in a scene is when he's like scared.
Yeah.
But that's about it.
Just like I've seen this guy give many good performances and just
right, exactly.
So we get the scene, of course, his partner, Officer Deadmeat. Right, this guy, the second, he's like, "You're my best friend and partner." I'm like, and countdown till his death.
Yes, that was inevitable.
Dylan, that's right.
Dylan.
Yeah,
I can't even remember what he looks like. Like he's so forgettable.
He's a real Irish-looking guy with red hair and a mustache. We also get a scene where he's banging his girlfriend. I was also going to say, it's like we get to see him railing a woman in the shower. So glad that was in there. 83 minutes of runtime. We had to make sure to include that. There are 2 different sex scenes in this movie, of course.
That is with 2 separate couples,
yeah.
Neither of them are necessary.
Nope.
Neither of them are necessary.
And both are even kind of... Even the movie kind of knows they're not necessary. Like, both are pretty quick and just like, there you go. All right, moving on.
We got it over with. Okay. We put in what you want. Okay, divorce dads.
Yeah, there you go. You guys happy? Back to the kicking. I mean, that's kind of the whole movie. I felt like that. It just felt like every scene was like, pick it up. 83 minutes. Let's go, baby.
I'm looking at the clock here.
Did you love him singing Danny Boy to distract this guard? Because that was a really bizarre...
That was cool. John, that was so cool.
And
so cool.
He knows this guard. There's this weird moment between them where he goes, "Didn't we go to high school together? What was that?"
I don't know. Because it would be if that was like an ongoing like bit where he just knows all of these people just because he's been pursuing them for so long.
Yeah,
maybe that could be something.
Right.
But this is the only time that happens, so it's just like, why did that happen?
There is There is a Seagal movie from the same time that has a plot like that called Out for Justice, which is like where he was teenage friends with the mob boss he's tracking. Yeah, and so there is like something there that could have been an interesting thing in this movie where it's like we once were friends but now we're enemies.
Yeah, but that is not because this guy gets kicked immediately. I think. Yeah, I don't.
He does also,
and then he's not in the movie for the rest of. He's not in the rest of the movie.
No, but this does have the first of a few flying kicks from Thomas Ian Griffith. And this is the guy he sends through the window that he then follows as the ambulance takes him to a hospital and proceeds to torture information out of him while he's in a hospital. This is our hero. This is the hero of the movie.
This is the beginning of the film. This is establishing that he is a likable, relatable guy. Mm-hmm. He's just torturing this man who.
And not in a dirty when Dirty Harry tortures the Scorpio killer. It's number one played as extremely violent and intense. And 2, you are going well, there's like a girl's life imminently in danger, and Harry feels he has no choice.
Right, I mean, exactly. Whether or not it's justified, the stakes are raised because
you understand why he did it, even if the movie isn't telling you whether to agree with him or not, because that's actually something that I find very compelling about Dirty Harry is it kind of doesn't pass judgment.
Mm-hmm.
It just sort of is presenting this character. Right. Here, though, we're supposed to think this guy's awesome. Yeah. And then, yes, when it goes to court and the judge is like, excessive force was used to get this information, so we can't charge him. We're supposed to be like, this fucking, god damn it, the justice system.
And instead of the reaction that you and I'm sure both had, which is like, oh, yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah. That is what would happen. Yeah.
I don't want Saul DeMarco back on the street, but it is kind of like, yeah, you fucked up, McCain. You shouldn't have done that. You
fucked it up.
He ruined the case by doing this. I don't feel
You're a bad police officer.
Yeah, it's like, I don't feel bad for the mobster who got hurt necessarily. I'm not like, that guy probably is a scumbag, but like, yeah, you can't do that. That's just not the kind of, so.
There's a reason why you're not allowed to do that, you know? And I do you get the sense that this movie is confusing because I'm trying to get like, obviously this movie wants this guy to be right. Otherwise, why would they have him live above a jazz club? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if it's saying that the excessive force he uses is a good thing or not, because that tendency is what allows him to be blackmailed later on in the film.
It is. This movie, it's the thing we're talking about where it takes place in no sense of reality. So I don't think there's any second thought to what does this actually mean to society. It is so purely like a comic book world. Because, like, you even don't... You basically see almost no other cops in the movie who aren't directly connected to this case. Like, there's no sense that the city has other problems. There's also no... The movie just uses this shorthand of he's battling the mob. What we don't see is, like... something that would definitely put me on his side is, like, if we saw the effects of the drugs that the mob was peddling, if we saw why it was like, this guy has to be taken out by any means necessary.
Right, exactly.
That would at least...
What are the negative effects?
Right, that would at least give it something, right? There's no... Beyond, once again, all the victims are within the thing anyway. It's like, oh, there's... The mob murders people, but they're only murdering the cops who are already battling them. There's no, like... I always go back to... I feel like I end up bringing up the same movies because I think they're perfect. But Brian De Palma's The Untouchables. The very beginning of the movie is you see the mob blow up a store and a ton of innocent people get blown up. And that's the inciting incident. Was like, this has to stop. It's not just mobsters killing each other.
Change.
There's collateral damage in this city. We need Kevin Costner to bring down Al Capone. Now, he does it through, and because it's a true story, and the guy really did do that, through using the law to do that. You know, he brings charges and actually makes a case against him, you know, does police work.
That's the word, right. Yes,
that is the thing. Work. These movies are... I always love these movies because, of course, like the cops are detectives, right? That's their job. But the closest thing to detective work that this guy does is when he finds that newspaper where Tony Todd had circled something. And he's just like, oh...
Wait a minute, Tony Todd's still alive.
Also, oh, that was another one, too, where I thought, I bet Tony Todd's not dead. Because Tony Todd
because the way he dies is so
the way he dies,
weird.
We don't see him in the apartment that explodes. He's a known actor in the part. And I'm like, what kind of a waste of Tony Todd, who also...
Because even by the logic of the movie, like, if the mob needs that money, then they're not going to just kill the guy. They're going to question him. But they just blew up his building. So,
right.
Well, then he very clearly...
And then by the time they go... Because you know James Earl Jones isn't crooked. So by the time he's accusing James Earl Jones, which, by the way, no apology to James Earl Jones for, like, thinking his best friend in the world had betrayed him, you know?
No. Well, John, it's implicit. He's such a good guy that he doesn't have to apologize for, accusing somebody.
Not only does he accuse his best friend of betraying him, that false accusation sort of roundabout leads to James Earl Jones getting shot.
Yes, yes.
Due to him being an idiot, James Earl Jones gets shot. So
yes, which is very. That scene's buck wild. I don't mean to jump around, but like,
no, please do.
James Earl James Earl Jones gets shot by Tony Todd's character.
Yeah. Frankie.
But Tony Todd's character, Frankie,
yeah,
leaves James Earl Jones alive.
Yeah.
Despite this person seeing him, like, because he fakes his death.
Yeah.
So it would be bad if then James Earl lived and told everybody, which is exactly what happened. I don't.
Yeah.
Like, the villains in these movies are always so stupid, and I know that it's hard to make like really, really smart villains. You know, you can't have a Hans Gruber in every single film.
No, and we're not asking for that, but like maybe a little bit smarter.
Just mild logic, you know, just even a reasonable logic. And I don't even know why they didn't kill James Earl Jones here.
I don't know. Yeah.
What?
Because that's the classic.
Kill him.
Yeah, he's the mentor figure who dies. That's classic, just hero's journey shit, right? Like, because I thought when he got shot, I just assumed he was gonna die.
But turns out, no.
No.
Because again, Terry does so little police work. Mm-hmm. He needs his mentor to get shot but survive in order to tell him, like, who's behind this.
Yes.
Because there's no time for police work. There's 45 minutes is filled with kicks and punches.
Yeah, that's the thing too, is there's no real because of that. It's not just there's no detective work, but the no detective work is a symptom of there's no progression. There's no feeling of we do this thing to lead to this thing. Like, there's no, because normally in a police movie that would be a cop following clues, right? I lead to this. Yeah. He kind of is just running around, because there's the whole section where they leave the city and go out to the country where they have a nice house, and then he just goes, "Yeah, I got to go back to the city now." Like,
why did we go out there at all?
Yeah,
I don't understand why that happened.
Yeah, well,
and it's immediately, his hideout is immediately found out.
It is
and
that exactly.
Why do that at all? I don't know.
Why do it at all?
This movie doesn't fully understand how a story progresses.
Something else I love in this movie, though, and that leads us to where the safe house part of the movie is he's an inner city police officer whose girlfriend is an international supermodel.
Yes. Yes.
That would be insane. Like, I was talking,
hard to believe.
I was just thinking about this. Could you imagine if, like, once again, I'm not up on who any of today's supermodels are, but let's say, like, I go back to like a Heidi Klum or something like that, right?
Sure.
If it was like Heidi Klum's new boyfriend, NYPD homicide detective, like, what? In what world are those two interacting? What do they have in common? Their lives don't make any sense together.
No, they don't have any. There's no chemistry here.
No, and I actually think Charlotte Lewis is a fine actress.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with. I mean, her performance is, and of course, the biggest problem of their relationship, of course, is he just loves being a cop too much.
Yeah, and she's just not being tolerant of his police activities.
Yes.
Because that's the arc, right?
Yeah.
Because he doesn't have to change his behavior at all, because movie, goes out of its way to justify every single thing he does. But she has to learn the lesson. I should just be more patient with him.
Charlotte Lewis is most famous to me, and I know this one of my childhood favorites is the Eddie Murphy movie, The Golden Child. An extremely bizarre movie that I fucking love. And she's the female lead in that. She's much cooler in that than she is here. She's also in a really good episode of Seinfeld. She's in a movie that, oh man, it would be a super weird episode of the show, but we have to do it someday. And that is the Cannon film Pirates, which it's a film produced by Cannon, directed by Roman Polanski, and starring Walter Matthau. And it's a pirate adventure.
Whoa, that's weird.
Yeah, that's
weird.
Sort of the thing where it's like I keep trying to figure out, like, when is the time to do that? That might be like when we get to Cannon Summer someday.
That makes sense, yeah.
Well, because there was a period of time when Cannon goes, we're going to get the best directors in the world. And the big thing is we can't offer them money, but we can offer them complete creative control.
So this movie, we get to see Roman Polanski completely unfiltered.
Yeah. I mean, although to be fair, I can't think of many Polanski movies where he felt like he was toned down in any way.
Right.
Not really a director who I think of like, man, they're really on Polanski's ass. You can really feel the studio involvement. But it's just and the Matthau casting on top of all that he's a pirate. It's Walter Matthau as a pirate captain. Everything about this movie seems strange. I've never actually seen it. It famously was not successful. Like people were not into it.
Shocking.
Because they also but that was the thing where it's just like because they were film nerds, right? Like the Canon guys. So anyway, she's in that. And I think she's once again she like everybody. I have the same note about every cast member in this movie, which is they're all good actors doing the best they can. Did you think anyone was? I don't think anyone is bad here.
No, I wouldn't say like as far as the main cast goes.
Yeah, as far as like the central, probably like 6 or 7 actors are all professionals doing what they can to bring something to this pretty nothing script.
Yeah, right, exactly.
And there are almost moments in the movie where you're kind of like, oh wait, no, it's nothing.
Yes, you're like, oh, that's almost
because even like the main henchman guy is an actor named W. Earl Brown, who was a cast member on Deadwood. This is very early in his career, but I love W. Earl Brown. Great character actor, and he's one of those guys where it's like if you look him up, he's been in everything.
Right. Yeah. So just all the way down the cast.
It's really good.
It's a very stacked cast.
It really is.
And I think that speaks to it being originally a studio produced, intended to be theatrically released.
And that's what I'm saying about this. Watching it, I couldn't figure out what about this was any worse than the other shit that was coming out in theaters at this time.
Nothing.
Yeah,
it's absolutely nothing.
We talk about when they find his dead partner who's been cut apart and put in a junkyard or like like the dump. They find him at the dump.
Yeah.
And and it leads to I did read some of the I did find some of the dialogue here that I want to talk about. Where was this line here? This is a Terry McCain line. He's talking to Charlotte Lewis, who is his kind of on again, off again. They're on a bet. He does just break into her apartment. We're supposed to think that's cool.
Several times.
Yeah.
Drinks her booze and plays her piano.
Oh, that does lead to one of my favorite. When she comes in with her friend and he's unannounced has broken into her apartment, and she goes, "You're drunk," and one of his one-liners is, "Didn't expect it to be a secret." Yeah, I'm a fucking mess. What do you expect, lady? Like, so anyway, though, what he says is he says they found his partner dead, and he goes, "They blew his head off. They smashed his knees. His knees, for Christ's sake." What?
He loved those knees. Those were his favorite pair.
He kind of glosses over the blew his head off and is like, "But the fucking knees, man. Yeah, you shoot a man in the face. You don't take his knees off."
Well, here's the thing. They cut out a subplot where his partners had knee replacement surgery, and it was like a whole thing of him like again and all that stuff. So that I see why you were confused there, but that is why.
Gotcha. Yeah, okay. Then it's never mind. Airtight script.
It makes perfect sense.
Oh, this works so well, man. Good Lord. Oh my God, what a great movie. And once again, I just see this, and I'll just note it now. Once again, the UK, who always kind of had a problem with martial arts, they cut 26 seconds of kicks and punches out of this movie. Too much with the kicks and the punches. Yeah, there was a weird thing. We talked about that. The weird British censors of like the 80s and 90s who were like kind of any Asian stuff was like no
martial arts,
martial arts weapons. We talked about them banning the Ninja Turtles movies because they had nunchucks in them. That was not cool to show that.
Is it just? I mean, there's no way to know why, but is it like just? Like, there's still physical altercations happening in British films. I've seen James Bond movies.
Right,
Is it just race? Was it just racism? I don't know.
Well, from what I gather, it was due to like a weird it was like one guy basically, and that guy had a lot of power in the British film censorship. And it was sort of a thing where it's like it became sort of the norm until eventually somebody goes like, "Wait, why are we doing this?"
Somebody's like, "Hold on."
Yeah, it's like, and then
what have we been doing?
And it's sort
for
of
the
like,
last 10 years?
Do we as a culture have a problem with this? It's like, no, I think just that guy did. That's kind of what I've read about it. Is it's sort of just like one guy was just like, "Oh no nunchucks, sir. I don't think so."
No.
Yeah.
Those are terrifying. No.
Do you think he just got like the shit beaten out of him with nunchucks one time and it traumatized him?
I think that's true.
He's just like, no, I can't. The PTSD.
I think so. I think that's it.
That's why Michelangelo was always my least favorite Ninja Turtle.
Why couldn't he have swords?
Well, I was just thinking...
Nothing's wrong with swords.
It does seem like, actually, nunchucks are one of the least violent weapons. All the bladed weapons are totally cool, but...
Yeah,
those size...
They weren't even originally designed to be weapons, which is hilarious.
By the way, I know you haven't seen it as of yet, but John Wick Chapter 4 has a sick nunchuck fight in it. Absolutely sick nunchuck fight. So
I feel like there hasn't been a lot of nunchuck use in action movies outside of Ninja Turtle films.
Agreed. And that's why I was thrilled that Keanu goes ape on some guys with nunchucks in it.
It's just one of the most cinematic ones.
It's so
you know what
cool.
I mean? It's just so cool looking.
Because it's just two sticks on a chain, and there's literally the scene
it's unnecessarily difficult.
There's a scene where he's got a guy his head down on a table, and so he's got the nunchucks behind him, and he just keeps swinging the other part of the nunchuck into the guy again and again and again, and he's going, "This is the coolest thing I've ever seen." Not since Bruce Lee, man. Bruce Lee nunchuck fights. Good lord. Listen, I'm going to ask you to open the quotes page in IMDb because I want to perform a scene from this.
Oh no!
You put our acting skills to the test. I think it's at the bottom here. This is the scene we talked about, which is once he thinks both of his police friends have been killed. This is the scene where he goes and confronts Sal DeMarco. And so he punches his way through all of DeMarco's guys, and DeMarco's in, of course, he's an Italian mobster, so he's in like an Italian restaurant. Do you want to play Sal DeMarco, and I'll play Terry McCain?
Sounds good.
All right, so here we go. So the scene is he's just kicked he's kicked the ass of every guy that's in there. All right, go ahead, take it away.
What do you want?
What do I want? He tosses the table away the guy's from. I want to see the tough guy. I want to see the guy who smashes knees. Once again, still on about the knees. Shoots people in the face. Come on, I want to see him.
I'm not gonna fight you.
Throws him to the floor, points a gun at him. Get up! Get up!
Please, I'll make sure it stops right here.
Shut up!
Please don't kill me.
Die with a little dignity.
You keep the money, okay? You keep the money. Starts to cry.
Yeah.
Oh, don't kill me.
Jesus, you're pathetic. And he walks out. That's a scene in this movie. That's the entirety of a scene we just read. That's the whole scene. Full scene. The only thing I was shocked by when he says, Jesus, you're pathetic, the action he's doing is he's pulling his shirt back down and straightening it out. I thought they were going to show that he pissed his pants. I was certain that the mob boss was because his hands were kind of grabbing at the fabric of his clothing, and I thought it was going to be he's trying to cover the pee stains. This feels like a movie that would do that, so.
Yes, it does.
And you're
they're
pathetic.
Already making. Yeah, they really do make him very pathetic, which is an interesting take.
The next scene. He's walking by somebody with a newspaper, and you see that this mob boss has been killed. Off camera.
Yes, ostensibly, he's walking from the scene of the crime where he almost murdered this man.
Yeah, and then this guy got killed because that's going to set up now people think Terry McCain did this. And by the way, there's this entire thread, as we've talked about this missing mob money that really doesn't amount to much.
No, it is revealed who stole the money, but it doesn't really mean anything because, like you said, at this point, the movie becomes Terry getting framed for the murder of DeMarco.
Right.
So the money stops mattering.
And that's kind of the whole thing, because throughout the whole movie, Lance Henriksen's character, who's this police captain on the ascent, right? He's sort of working his way up the ladder. This is a classic super cop character, super cop movie character, right? Of the guy, he's the political cop. He cares about, the rules and shit, and he just wants to get promotions. Yeah. He doesn't care about justice. In reality, of course, what I love about that is, like, I kind of don't care for either one of those cops' attitudes in real life.
No, neither of them are good.
It's like, I don't actually understand where those are the only two options we have for police work, but...
This is a false dichotomy movie.
I do want to point, something we've been doing on our Instagram now is pointing people towards better versions of these movies. And I want to point people towards a movie that I think is highly underrated called Dark Blue. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's a movie with Kurt Russell from the early 2000s. And it's basically like, what would really happen to a cop like this? Like how would, and
that sounds interesting.
It's set against the backdrop of the Rodney King riots in LA as that's happening. And Kurt Russell plays this cop who does get his way by violence and force. And the movie is actually, it's a drama, not it's really actually going forcing this guy to reckon with, what am I doing to this city? Do we is there a man like this? And you have Ving Rhames being the political ascent kind of guy, who's but is also sort of questionable in the whole thing is, it's a very complex movie that asks questions and is like, I don't fucking know. Like, these aren't easy answers. Really good movie. Highly recommend. Not enough. Very underrated. I love Dark Blue.
That sounds really interesting.
Yeah, and I said that I kept thinking about that during this movie, because I'm like, this movie almost asks the questions that movie does, and then it's like, more kicking.
So close. Yeah, exactly.
That should have just been the tagline. The tagline of this movie is just.
It's better than the actual
tagline. Yeah. All right. So, what I was saying though is Lance Henriksen has been sort of quietly aiding Thomas Ian Griffith. They're sort of giving him the nod, is looking the other way on stuff for his vengeance. But you find out this has all just been to set him up so that he can take over the city as the mob boss and police chief. Is that sort of the...
/ dictator. He started talking like he was a dictator.
Yeah, he gets really into lots of and this is, Lance Henriksen is such a good actor, and he could, but the thing about this is he's this good and he's sleepwalking through. He's played this part before, because we loved him in Hard Target. We also loved him in Stone Cold as the leader of that motorcycle gang. God, he's great in that. And here, this is just it almost feels like the direction is just like, oh no, Lance, do what you do in all those other movies. And he's like, okay.
Yeah, you're just kind of like evil and sinister.
Yeah,
and,
so it's,
you're plotting.
This is one of the, like we're talking about the smart villain. This is a movie where it's like, best not to put too much thought into the pieces of this plan.
Yes.
You go like, wait a minute. I mean, he's he really lucked out that Thomas Ian Griffith went and beat up Burt Young in that restaurant. And he's like, oh, great, now we can kill him and it'll look like he did it.
Right. Well, they originally thought Terry was going to.
I think that would have been
a violent streak.
I think that would have. Yeah, I think that was the thing where it's like, oh, you didn't kill him? Ah, shit. All right. Well, we'll kill him, and it'll still look pretty good.
Right. Exactly. But like, there's no conversation between Lance Henriksen and Thomas Ian Griffith after it's revealed.
No.
That of being like, and you're better for this city? You go around like murdering and like beating people up, and like how many of those people ended up being innocent?
And you know what? That would be what I would expect of this movie. Like, that would be what I would expect. That's the most I would expect, and I'd be fine with that. Just hint
one
at some
scene.
Of this.
Yeah, just one conversation between the protagonist and the antagonist.
And a movie like this would never do this. If you did that, that would also threat he shouldn't kill him at the end of the movie. He should arrest him, proving that he no longer needs to use the violent tactics. And because you expect me to be that, I'm going to be the better cop than you.
Yeah, exactly. It's almost like the main character could have an arc in the film. It's almost as if
classic action
character arc.
Classic action shelf though for the movie to just be like, no, he's awesome, and the end of the movie is everybody realizing he's been right the whole time.
It's kind of the same arc as Our Idiot Brother. You know what I mean?
It is, yeah. Except
way
more
that's a silly comedy, you
yeah.
know. But it's kind of the same arc, which I find very fascinating.
Because you can, and actually, I watched a great video years ago about main characters who don't have an arc. And what usually those movies are is like Our Idiot Brother, where it becomes everyone around them has an arc because of they brought up Back to the Future.
Yes.
Marty McFly does not have an arc in that movie. It's everyone else who changes around Marty McFly.
Yes. He's just the catalyst.
Right, that's the thing where it's like the Paddington movies are this too, where it's like and you do they're often movies about these guys like Our Idiot Brother, these sort of like sweet innocents or simpletons or something that have and everyone needs to ground themselves, and usually they're comedies. Very tough for it to be an action movie where that would happen.
Yes,
because it's not that this guy influences people to change as much as this go. No, you know what? Never mind. This guy fucking rules.
Yeah, he's just so cool. He's just so cool.
And I can only presume that from here on out, he's just gonna kill and harm more people in this city.
I believe so, yeah, because he's been vindicated. His excessive force worked in the end.
Yeah, exactly right. I guess we need more cops using excessive force. Once again, the movie is in no way, because I'm sure it's one of those things where you would ask Thomas Ian Griffith, he goes, well, it's not saying that. It's like, really? Is it not? Did you put any thought to where this, like, no. All that stuff is hilarious, of course. I also love, so when they say that he's the chief suspect for this murder, they also go, and of course, Detective McCain has been dating international supermodel, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, oh, shit. That's going to make her a target. Why would they say that? Why would that be part of the news report?
Right. I understand that Lance Henriksen would want that to happen, but at a certain point, somebody would be like, we can't say that. We cannot release that information.
Right.
That's endangering somebody. Like, there would be somebody in the chain of command
hey, boss.
who would be like, we legally cannot do that.
But that's the thing about this movie, right? There is no one else. There are only 5 cops in the whole force.
Yes, and 4 of them are crooked. Or excuse me, 3 are crooked, 1's dead, and 1 is the main character.
Yeah, that's something Code of Silence did really well with, right? Like there were lots of cops around, and that's also, I mean, if you want to watch something that, like I said, that would really be the still action shelf movie. That's the way better version of this. We love that movie. Still maybe my favorite movie we've ever done on here. I love that movie.
Yeah, definitely. It's up there for sure.
Yeah, I really love that movie. This gets a great scene where he goes to protect her, and she's all like, "You're overreacting." And then the guy's like, "Yeah, I got a message for you." Knock, knock, knock at the door. Message delivery.
Hello.
And that message is, a gun in your face! Ah, bam, bam, bam!
So, yeah, this is one of the fight scenes. We see Thomas Ian Griffith beat so many people up instantaneous, but this, like, slightly pudgy, middle-aged man is really putting up a fight, and it could go either way.
It really could go either way. And it is just, it's so funny that it's this actor, and every time he's just wailing on him. This, like, 45-year-old guy who's, kind of out of shape. And he's just spin kick to the face. And just like, good Lord.
You think this guy worked on set and they just put him in? You know?
This guy was laying cable somewhere and they're like, hey, how about
exactly.
You want to be in the movie? Sure.
Oh, shit, we totally forgot to cast this part. Fuck. Okay, what do we do? Hey, you, be in the movie.
Sure, boss.
Yeah, why not?
I'm trying to see who this guy is. I can't even find what his credit is. Because shouldn't it be like...
what his credit would be.
Oh, Delivery Man, Tony Epper.
Okay.
I just want to see, like, was he like a stunt? Yeah, he's a stunt guy. That's what I figured. Yeah. Lots and lots of stunts. Lots of stunts.
This fight scene does not feel very... And I'm assuming there was very little time dedicated to choreographing these fight scenes.
I would assume so. I feel like there was very little time committed to anything. This guy goes way back, though. And like, this guy did stunts on Stanley Kubrick's Spartacus and the original Planet of the Apes and the Wild Bunch. Like, holy shit, this guy goes way back. So that's why we're also seeing him much later in his career when he's a little heavier. And holy shit, this guy worked on a ton of stuff and even continued working past this. He did stunts for a favorite of ours, The Rock.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, but it's not a very
this
exciting
fight scene is pretty underwhelming. It's pretty underwhelming.
It does feel like, once again, it's just sort of I think like a lot of these movies where it's just like, well, Thomas will do some kicks. It's just he'll look good kicking people, but there's no thought to like. We always talk about good action movies, like, and this is certainly not just us. I've heard many filmmakers talk about this. Action scenes need to have a story unto themselves. There's an arc.
Yes.
There's a structure to how you're telling a story through action. That's what an action movie does. And here it's just like, now it's time to kick people. I want to see if there was a listed fight choreographer on this movie.
Bobby Bass.
Here. Ooh.
Stunt coordinator.
Oh yeah, Bobby Bass. Yeah.
He's done stunt work on a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But like not a lot of stunt coordination. But again, my guess is that there just wasn't time dedicated to choreographing good fights.
Yeah.
I'm hesitant to blame the stunt.
This guy was a stunt guy in the original Star Trek, Bobby Bass. There's a number. A lot of his IMDb photos are him getting killed on Star Trek. Here he is taking a phaser blast on Star Trek. But yeah, it doesn't
That's the first two photos, yeah.
It does not seem like he did a lot of stunt coordination, is right.
Yeah.
Oh, he was specifically James Doohan. He was Scotty's stunt double in particular, it seems like, on Star Trek.
Oh, okay.
That's kind of cool.
Gotcha.
He was, so he doubled one of the main characters, which is cool. But you also, cool. Those guys got, if you watch as much Star Trek as I do, you do start to recognize the crewmen who die every week. Like, there's only so many guys around to play red shirts, so you see the same guys.
Yes.
And didn't that guy get killed by a Klingon last week?
Oh, it's part of the charm.
But yeah, I think this whole movie feels a little underfunded in that way.
Yes.
So yeah, they go out to the none of the stuff with his girlfriend doesn't matter once they go out there. I just want to talk about one scene in particular, and I think you probably want to do as well. And that's the joke scene where you think he's asking for a hand job.
Yes, this felt very, very well placed in the film during the rising climax.
There is no precedent for anything else this silly in the movie at all.
Nope.
And the whole thing is, they're up against his car outside, and he goes, "Come on, just grab it, just put your hand on it." He goes, "Come on,
and pull it out."
Yeah, take it out. And she's like, "There's a kid watching." He goes, "Just come on, just do it, take it out." And I'm going, well, obviously this is not a Van Damme movie, so it's not a Van Damme movie. Would just be a straight up hand job, but
yes, yeah, that's true.
But
huge surprise.
But instead, she pulls a handgun, which, of course, like any good police officer, he has just jammed into his waistband.
Yeah, right up against his junk. It could have gone off at any point.
I love that. We see that in all of these, where guys are just sticking guns down their pants. Now, I will say, I have been around people who have done that, and it's fucking terrifying. When a guy just comes up with a big old... I was at a wedding once where almost everyone was armed. It was
just in case, like what?
Yeah. Well, it was my ex-girlfriend had a lot of conservative. There's a whole conservative side of her family, and it was at her cousin's wedding, and all the guys had at least a handgun, or at the very least, they all had that like military combat knife in a sheath. Like they had their formal wear on and that. But a guy comes up to me and is like, "Hey man, how you doing?" And I look, and he's got a big old 1911 45 jammed down the front of his pants, hammer cocked back.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
he could have shot himself somebody else.
I was waiting for a gunshot the whole wedding. Really, I was, because he just had it jammed down the front of his cargo shorts, hammerback, locked and ready to go.
I understand wanting to own, but like at a wedding, like what do you think's gonna happen?
Like the whole time we were there, I was like, we have to get out of here. I do not want to be here.
But
I didn't grow up around
someone is
firearms.
going to die, and I'm going to be here.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. What I kept waiting for, too, is like somebody's car backfires, and these guys were going to unload into the parking lot. I mean, these guys were ready to go, man.
I'm just trying to put my, I'm trying to put my thought process into feeling like I can't even go to a wedding without having to bring a fucking
this is now just become
revolver.
This is not just becoming anecdotes of this, but also the groom at that wedding. I also went to a thing where the guy was there. We were at a comedy club seeing just a stand-up show, and he was telling me he's wearing a big hoodie, and he goes, yeah, well, my carry permit is only for Washington, but I got it on me. I have to keep it concealed, the gun, but I've got it with me, even though I'm not legally allowed. Because he's just like, I'm not going to go anywhere without it. And he's got like a Glock in his in the back of his pants.
Like what? Like how terrified do you have to be? Like how I don't.
And as we know too, of course, this is what people tune in for. But of course, I don't want somebody, if there's a shooting situation, I don't want just some guy opening up.
No,
that helps
absolutely
no one.
Not. That just means more people are going to get shot.
That's the thing, though.
There's going to be more stray bullets.
Guys like that are so ready for some kind of fucking Die Hard situation for them to be, and they all think they're going to be John McClane.
They all think they're going to be Terry McCain.
Forget John McClane. We've got Terry McCain.
Terry.
This movie does have. We'll just hit on a couple more things because there's not much movie left here. But I do want to hit on this movie does have a sexy stitching up wound scene, which is one of my that should be on our bingo card because I love that.
It should be
because
it's a staple.
Insane that would in any way turn anyone on. She's stitching up a bullet wound.
In fact, you shouldn't be doing that because there's a risk of the stitches tearing.
Yep.
Like that's very much not recommended.
He gets shot in the arm and she's stitching it up and then it's like, oh, it's on. And then that sexy sax kicks in. And we get our 20 seconds of sex that's contractually obligated.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
But even the movie's just like, yeah, here you go. Here's that. Let's go.
Is it like the presence of blood? Is it like being reminded of our mortality? That
a movie we both love that is a direct parody of these movies, of course, is MacGruber, where they're literally making it the penetrative act of pulling the bullet out is the like ooh, as the metal tongs go in there.
That movie is so good.
That movie is one of the best.
Really, it's such.
I put that right up there with Black Dynamite.
Spot on.
I think both of those movies so perfectly nail, specifically the kinds of movies we watch on this show. They're both parodying action show movies and doing it expertly. God, I love MacGruber.
Expertly, yeah. It takes a lot of knowledge about types of movies to recognize those kinds. It's just so good.
We do have a barn fight where he impales a guy with a broken pitchfork, just the wooden handle of it. That was pretty cool.
A car drives into the barn as well.
Car drives into the barn.
Shoots that guy.
The final fight with him and Tony Todd happens at a photo shoot for his girlfriend's modeling.
Yeah.
He's just like, get out of here, and everybody's like, all right, and then they proceed to beat the shit out of each other.
There's nothing that leads to that, right? It's just it does at this point seem like it's a series of random locations.
Yeah, the only thing is what leads to that is just that Tony Todd knows his girlfriend's a model, but I don't know why that would mean he would know where they're taking these photographs.
Yeah, I don't know.
And they just ruin this place, of course, kicking each other through walls and stuff.
Yeah, well,
and then he does a flying kick to kick him off of off of the building, which is how Lance Henriksen dies.
Yep. Yeah.
And by God, he's done it. Is there anything else? Oh yeah, the last. Oh, we didn't talk about the weird thread of the kitten.
Oh right, yes, there's an adorable cat.
Which I just like.
His partner was gonna buy I guess.
Yeah, but we just keep seeing the kitten because when they come and visit James Earl Jones in the hospital at the end of the movie, they bring the kitten. So
also the kitten is in the box as well. Like after, like it's very strange. I don't know. So that's a running thing, and then the last. I was confused about this.
Okay, yes, me too. I'm glad. I can't figure this. So they talk about James Earl Jones says nobody knows what happened to that $3 million.
Right.
That the mob was looking for. And
right.
Thomas Ian Griffith has this like wry smile of like, well, I do. And I thought, well, he's not going to steal it because that would make him a bad guy, right? And then you cut to but gave it to the Salvation Army?
Is that what it was? Because it looked like it was it looked like they were taking a bunch of like furniture and stuff from Lance Henriksen's house.
Yeah.
And his wife is there, upset.
Mm-hmm.
So we're led to believe that the money was in there, I guess.
I think the idea is the money is in the like because they roll out this is it a refrigerator or like a big chest of something, and I guess the implication is the money is in there, and then you see because the closing shot is the door closing and it says the Salvation Army,
and it's I don't really know. Like they should if they wanted to establish beforehand that Lance Henriksen had in this chest, they should have shown it.
Yeah, they
so
did.
Then at the end of the movie, when you see the chest, you're like, oh, I see where.
I'm glad you that you also didn't catch that because I thought, oh, maybe I just missed where they set that up. They didn't set that up. It was so insane, and I rolled it back and watched that last scene again, going like, am I missing something? No. Okay.
It's kind of the dropping money, the airplane and money plane.
Yeah.
Like it's a little bit that kind of vibe.
Two things. Number one, if the Salvation Army opens this chest and finds all that money, they have to give it to the cops, right? They don't just get that money.
Yes.
And two, the Salvation Army is actually a pretty shitty charity. If you know anything about them, they're not great at all.
If you look into it, yeah.
So,
well, I mean, this is 1993.
Yeah. This is true.
But
this is true. But it is just like, all right.
It's weird. It's unnecessary, and it doesn't add to anything, and it's confusingly put.
And that's the end of the movie.
Yeah. Roll credits.
Weird movie.
Weird
movie. Choice. Yeah. I can't recommend people really check it out. It's interesting. It's definitely a snapshot of this of action movies of this time. It's certainly better than anything that Seagal was offering up. Yeah, definitely. And it's very middling. It's middle of the road. It's very middle of the road. Yeah,
it's just incredibly generic.
But well, Lisman, it's time, of course, to go into the bizarre people of IMDb. Oh, by the way, hold on though. First, do we want to choose a one-liner? Because there's a few, and we didn't actually go over a lot of them. All right. So when they bust in to torture the partner, they see the sexy girl he was having sex with in the shower, and the henchman, before he shoots her, says, "What a waste."
Gross.
Yeah. There's a scene where Thomas Ian Griffith just goes and beats the shit out of one of the mobsters and then says, "Regards to the old man." Oh, that's when he beats up the son, who doesn't really turn into a character. They make a big point about the main mob.
He almost does.
Yeah. That was so weird.
Yeah, that was weird. I thought he was going to be at a certain point. But they're like, no, we're just going to drop
when he's broken into his ex-girlfriend's apartment, she says, "You're drunk," and he says, "Didn't expect it to be a secret." Fucking asshole. There's a guy he beats up with trash can lids, and he says, "You look good wrapped in garbage." That's a good one.
That's pretty good.
When he's fighting the guy in the subway car, the guy says, "Fuck you," and Thomas Ian Griffith says, "Oh, that's original." We didn't talk about the guy that he stupidly. This is where he's very dumb. He kicks this guy a ton of times, and then just goes to walk away, leaving the guy next to his gun. And so he goes to pick up the gun to shoot Thomas Ian Griffith, and then gets shot to pieces by Thomas Ian Griffith's girlfriend with an Uzi, which you would think would be quite traumatizing, that she just had to kill somebody.
Yeah.
And his response is, what do you know? You're a natural. When he this is the line he says to James Earl Jones when he thinks he's the one who betrayed him. What about me standing here in one piece scares the shit out of you? But what's great about that is he's wrong about James Earl Jones.
Yeah.
James Earl Jones does say to Tony Todd when he sees him, he pulls a shotgun on him and says, "Look pretty good for a dead man."
That's pretty good.
Lance Henriksen says, when he's fighting, Tony Todd tells Lance Henriksen, "It's over." And Lance Henriksen says, "Not likely," and shoots Tony Todd. The last one is a massive missed opportunity. When he goes up to the roof, Thomas Ian Griffith's on the roof. Yes. Lance Henriksen jumps out of the shadows onto him and says, "You can't run off without saying goodbye." And then they fight. And then when he kicked him off the building, I thought he was going to hit the ground. Thomas Ian Griffith was going to go, "Goodbye."
Goodbye. Oh.
Huge missed opportunity there.
Oh,
instead, he says nothing.
That's so good.
But they still do the shot where he looks to see and his body's crumpled on the ground. I don't know what were you thinking, script? It was right there. You set it up.
It was right there. We don't ask for much. This is
literally
one of those examples
when
of
Lance Henriksen,
the bare minimum of understanding what you're setting up.
I didn't know how he was going to kill him, but I just went, however he kills him, he's then going to say goodbye. That's how that works.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Nope.
Do you have a favorite of those, though? I mean, not a lot of them are great.
Honestly, not really. Although it does bring up the fact that Tony Todd switched sides at one point during the final climax.
For kind of no reason?
For kind of no reason, and then gets shot by Lance Henriksen. There's not much to discuss there other than I don't know why anybody's doing anything.
No, because he spent the last few minutes of that scene fighting Thomas Ian Griffith. Thomas Ian Griffith beats him.
Yeah.
And then I guess it's the idea just that Tony Todd's like, "No, man, it's over. You'll never beat him in a fight. That guy's too badass.
That guy's too cool. He's proven to me he's too good.
Gotta pack it in, all right?"
Yeah. I'm gonna go with the winning side here.
No, none of them are that good.
I think the last one only because, I mean, none of these at the end of the day are going to stick out. There's so many good ones. None of them are unique, even like bad ones.
Right.
I wonder if the last one should be the winning one because it perfectly represents the wasted opportunity of this movie.
It really does.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go with that. Don't walk away without saying goodbye. All right, well, I promised we'd hear more from this guy, Listman, and that's right. As we go over IMDb, we haven't heard from Bruce Winning in a while, but I feel like we've got a new psychopath to talk about. Do you remember CC the Movie Man?
I do.
CC the Movie Man. Well, he saw this movie and he wasn't a big fan.
Oh, interesting.
Sleazy Cast, Sleazy Film is the title of the review. This has all the earmarks of Hollywood excess in modern-day action crime films. Excessive violence, profanity, crooked cops, conspiracy theories, Rambo-like mentality, a sleazy hero, and generally no likable characters in the whole film. That about summarizes this one. However, when you hear that a film is a direct-to-video one, chances are it's not exactly a high-quality film. I agree with one critic who said Thomas Ian Griffith is a better actor than a writer. He does both in this film. It's basically his movie. I also think he's pretty good at being an unlikable guy on screen. Of course, I could say the same of the sleazy characters Burt Young and Lance Henriksen usually played too. When you see this cast, the content isn't surprising. And this last section is why I chose this. I never thought James Earl Jones was as classy as his reputation, and him being mixed up with this group only solidifies my position regarding him. 2 out of 10 stars.
Whoa, this guy has a chip on his shoulder about James Earl.
James Earl Jones, can you believe that? That was so insane. Him just going, I always knew that guy sucked. And now he's in this bad movie, so it proves it. OCC, the movie, man. You so crazy.
I was just about to say, there's a lot I agreed with, but
a lot I agree with, yeah.
That's crazy.
Well, it's like a lot of the stuff where it's like, I agree with the general opinion you have of the movie, but your reasons are insane.
Yeah. Yes. Absolutely.
So CC the movie man. Oh, we'll be hearing more and more from him because he has almost 7,000 reviews on IMDb. He's written.
Jesus.
He's a guy, and some of those are where he there's some TV shows where he reviews every episode of the TV show. He wrote an individual review for each episode. Like a psycho.
God. That is psychotic behavior. That is mental.
And his opinions are all over the place too. That's the thing that's also great.
Yeah.
You have no idea where he's going to come in.
Right.
Yeah. But anyway, yes. But listen, unfortunately, we never got to see this man come back. There never was a sequel with this character, at least. So what say we give Detective Terry McCain a comeback? And I say, to even put another spin on it, let's say it's a legacy sequel, modern day. He comes back now. The success of Cobra Kai, somebody says, let's bring back Excessive Force. So it's going to be decades later, all right? Right. And so it's going to be called Excessive Force, hold on, it's thinking, Escape the Nation.
Escape the Nation. Interesting. Okay. So I think what it is that Terry McCain is well into retirement.
Yes.
At this point.
Yes.
He's living his best life with his former supermodel girlfriend.
Yes.
I don't know.
She's retired. He's retired.
Yeah, they're living the good life. But then it comes out that a series of his arrests back when he was a police officer, incriminating information comes out that makes it look like perhaps he framed these people or whatever. There's some sort of malfeasance, due
to something they've discovered, they've reopened all of his cases and they're reevaluating them. So every criminally arrested could be back on the streets.
Right, exactly. And so he's on the run. He's trying to figure out what's going on. He's like, I didn't do this. And so there's a mystery there. Obviously, it's that the villain who has set up all of these things is the brother of his partner in the first movie.
There you go.
Played by Eric
Roberts, yes. You got my brother killed, you son of a bitch.
Exactly. And
the movie comes down. The movie ultimately comes down to they decide we just don't have enough excessive force these days on the department.
It's true. Yeah. We need more. Because
today's cops are pussies, right?
Yeah, that's what people say.
That's it, man.
It's not that they're militarized.
No, they're too want to commit violence, man. They're just too scared of it. They're too, Nobody
is the final confrontation in Cop City.
Yes. And it turns and it's a giant flaming ring fight between him and Eric Roberts with all the other cops, and they're banging. They're banging nightsticks on their plastic riot shields as they're fighting.
Yeah, no, this sounds great.
Yeah,
it's political. It's dealing with real topics.
He kills Eric Roberts by throwing a police badge like a shuriken into him.
Slits his throat.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
There you go.
I love it.
That's Excessive Force Escape the Nation coming soon to a red box near you. All right, Listman. Well, we should part here with a note for future episodes, at least for a little while. Listman is going to be taking a break from the podcast for a bit of time. We don't know exactly how long, but in the interim, the show will keep coming out. I think the show's going to take a brief break for maybe the next week or two while we log some more episodes. But we're gonna have a revolving panel of guest hosts in that interim because we have some really really strange stuff coming up. I will say.
I'm excited to listen to
some more theme months. So I'll just let's see when. Well, look at this. Wouldn't you know? When we come back at the beginning of next month, we are going to be having Mr. Eric Roberts in a film. And it's a medieval action film starring Eric Roberts. Because when I think the Dark Ages, I think Eric Roberts.
This is going to be Hayden Christensen all over.
Yeah, I will say though. I will say it's as always, pros and cons here because you've got Eric Roberts, but you've also got second build Ron Perlman.
Okay,
yeah,
now that I would believe.
That is interesting.
In
absolutely,
yeah.
Absolutely. So the movie is called The King's Guard. Okay. And listen, I will ask you here. You won't be on the episode. Would you like to hear the tagline for the movie?
I would love to.
The most powerful enemy always comes from within.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. It's like
that's pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can relate to that. Yeah.
And the poster is just Eric Roberts in armor, holding a giant broadsword. So I don't fucking know. Could be anything. We don't have I don't know who will be joining me for that. Who will be lucky enough to get to see?
Yeah, to get the opportunity
to see the King's Guard.
There'll be a lottery, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, there's going to be a lot.
So many people.
Well, I mean, so many. That's the thing, Listman. You taking a break from the show. There's so many people who want to do the show. Obviously.
Yeah. They're
we're just dying.
Chomping at the bit.
You go. Let somebody else have some fun for a while.
Exactly.
Yes, and of course, I would also be remiss if I didn't tell people about go over to our Patreon page where you can listen to. Our patron spinoff show, The Last to Be Curious, where we've been putting out episodes about the Mission Impossible franchise. And you can also listen to our
franchise.
Yeah, our entire run about the Fast and the Furious saga as well, or the Fast saga. Those are all out. So over there, check that out, as long as also other exclusive bonus content from the Punch Up Entertainment Network. Once again, that is patron.podbean.com/punchup. So head over there and check that out. But that is going to do it for this week's episode. I'm John Campbell.
I'm Michael Isman.
Till next week, get yourself some action.
The Action Show. The Action Show.